decades, since the last one was hosted in 1977. This conference has been organized in a crucial point in time as the world is seriously behind on the implementation of the water-related goals, targets, including the SDGs. Due to its cross-cutting nature, the water effect and achievement of the SDGs through its close linkage with climate, energy, cities, the environment, food security, poverty, health, and many more. The UN Water Conference was therefore a conference about sustainable development at large. The three-day conference featured an opening and closing ceremony, 6 plenary meetings, and 5 multi-stakeholder interactive dialogues. It also featured several high-level special events and hundreds of side events organized by member states, the UN system, NGOs, and other stakeholders, including St. Martin, Curacao, and Aruba. This event was organized and co-hosted by the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Tajikistan, with Tajikistan representing high mountains and glaciers, and the Kingdom representing low-lying polars and small island developing states. The co-hosts embodied virtually the whole world of water. His Majesty King Willem-Alexander emphasized the representation of the Dutch Caribbean islands in his ceremonial speech, setting the scene for the importance of including the SIDS and especially the Dutch Caribbean islands in discussions and commitments moving forward. A main outcome of the UN Water Conference was the Water Action Agenda. The Water Action Agenda is a collection of all the water-related in the voluntary commitments to accelerate the progress in the second half of the water action decade, 2018, 2028, and the second half of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Water Action Agenda encourages member states and other stakeholders across all sectors, industries, and interests to unify and make their voluntary commitments to address the global water challenges. In one of my closing speeches, I mentioned that it always seems impossible until it's done. St. Martin is very vulnerable in how we are geographically located. We all know what happened in 2017, yet we contribute minimally to climate change. Therefore, that was my message during the conference, and I must say that it was well noted based on several dialogues that I had subsequent to that with different world leaders. I'd like to move on to the road updates. We are currently finalizing the Bush Road resurfacing project. A few weeks ago, the old asphalt was replaced in key areas and allowed to cure. This has been followed by the painting of the road and other improvements, such as drainage, covers, signs, in addition to the island to prevent traffic from moving in the wrong direction. We faced some setbacks with the contractor, but all in all, the project has shaped up nicely. I'm sure for those of you who have used the road in the last few days can see the difference. It is my vision as a minister to see all the main roads on the island have the same standard. While we only have about 2 million gallons allocated on a yearly basis, I look forward to finalizing and having the CapEx approved so that the additional monies can be allocated toward the road upgrades, including some of the side roads that are in dire need of some service as well. I would like to draw the public's attention to the key change on the Bush Road, and that is the entrance exit to cost you less. When exiting the main road, quite a few persons ignore the no left turn sign and pull out onto oncoming traffic from both directions. This has caused accidents in the past and can be very dangerous. To prevent this, we have now also included an island to separate the lanes at the intersection that clearly points out the pedestrian crossing and with markings. We urge the general public to pay attention and adhere to these traffic rules so that we can all be safe. With that being said, that would round off the opening remarks for the Ministry of Vromi. And I just have a slight few comments with respect to the onderlinge that was signed by the Prime Minister yesterday, as well as the other Prime Ministers with Aruba and Curacao, and also the State Secretary. I must say that this is a great win for St. Martin. I mentioned it yesterday during a radio interview, and I'll say it again here in this platform. I believe that as a government, we have fought hard to reach to this point where we took off the coho off the table and make sure secure our autonomy. And I must say that this is something that should ring out through the community. And I look forward to the media pushing this as well, because it is indeed a great accomplishment for us. We were able to maintain, we went through the struggle with COVID and all the different challenges that we had, and we are here standing strong, moving forward together. I thank you, Rolika, and I look forward to any questions members of the media might have.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, April 5th, 2023. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, before we begin, I would like to inform that the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, Omar Ali, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and as Bibi Hot Shah of SMN News is the only media partner present, I will allow you 4 rounds of questions. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Good morning. Good morning, ministers. My first question to the Minister of Romi and Deputy Prime Minister Doran. Minister Doran, recently, just after, during a parliament debate, the budget debate, and just recently again, we are hearing there is another controversy regarding the district cleaning contract. I'd like for you to tell me, Minister, if the SORB recommendations were fully followed, if any memo was ever issued to the acting head so that a specific contractor can get a specific parcel for cleaning. Have you respected anything? Because you chose to go to the SORB because of all the systemic investigations brought forward by the ombudsman. You said you chose the SORB. I'm now wanting to know if you followed or if the department followed the all recommendations by SORB, and if in fact a contractor were given preference even though they scored low. Also, since you're on cleaning, tell us what's the status of the trench cleaning and if recommendations from SORB was also followed in this.
Thank you, Baby, for your multifaceted question. So that's 2 points. With respect to the first one, there will always be controversy where persons want controversy to be at. I must say that, and I want to thank SORB and the entire team of ROMI for all the work that they put in. It was a very tedious process, especially given the fact that there's no, basically almost I wouldn't say no. There's a limited framework in which they had to operate. So basically we're starting from scratch in terms of the processes and procedures, which ties in also to the policy that I put together, I think it was a little over a year ago. The part where you mentioned that a particular contractor was given preference, that was definitely not the case and definitely not in my in anything to do with me in terms of preference or advice to me to give any preference. At the end of the day, there's some points. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to give an example. There was a case where, let's say, 2 contractors had the same amount of points all in all because you're based on quality and price. So if 2 of them are tied at, let's say, 85 points, you have to make a decision because it's not a clear-cut case. And in most times, we lean towards the pricing in order for us to, because we have to do what's in the best interest of St. Martin, of course. And in other cases, even in the past where, let's say, for instance, there was a contractor that had the most points, but the price was, let's say, if you're on a 3-year basis, 2 million, and tied into, instead of on a, let's say our price was 1.2 and their price was 2 million, of course we cannot go with the 2 million because it way exceeds the budget. Therefore, decision and advice has to take place as to how you move forward. And indeed, that did happen in one of the cases, so that is what happened. And as I mentioned, there are persons that are hell-bent on creating controversy where there is none, which so be it. I mean, Parliament has the reports, Parliament has all the information, so they could delve into it. And what I've seen over the last 2 years is as if Parliament wants to work within the Department of ROMI and dictate the manner in which things operate. And that will definitely not happen under my watch. As I mentioned yesterday, in a leadership position, you have to make decisions, and that's what I do. And I always make decisions in the best interest of the country.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Bibi, your second round.
No, he missed out on the trench cleaning.
Yes, sorry. At the moment, yes, we did receive the report from SORB. Again, everything is not straightforward, especially when receiving conflicting advices at times. I don't want to delve too deep into the specifics of that, but we are right now, hopefully once I receive the final advice, I can move forward with that. But things are not straightforward all the time, and therefore it requires more attention, and that is exactly what's taking place now. With respect to the government building, that advice was signed off. So within the coming weeks, we'll see some action taking place there.
Thank you, Minister. My next question goes to Minister Otley. Minister Otley, can you give us an update on the new General Hospital and where we are with the hospital? Also, can you tell me if SZV or even a hospital made any effort to start working with the front side when it comes to medical referrals? This was one of the things discussed when the king visited the hospital also. So I'd like to know if any progress or anything was initiated.
Thank you, Ms. Shah. With relations to the General Hospital, the work is ongoing. An update should be provided to me within this next week on the job increase, the increase of workforce. Um, what I would like to say is that 3 days ago, we had another pour, a very large pour, 500 cubic meters. So that completed the first phase 7 of level 1 foundation. So now we will start to erect and we can start to go up. We have made provisions for the water tanks. There will be 7 water tanks for emergency purposes, hurricane purposes, and then there will be another flooring in which we will start to go up. Anybody that knows construction, the foundation is one of the hardest parts, but once you start to elevate, it goes pretty quickly. So we look forward to continue to push, and most of our increasing the workforce on the General Hospital project. As it relates to SMMC and SZV, yes, these conversations had been had upon me entering office. It was a discrepancy on with the French side whether Guadeloupe controls their system and those type of things, but we're looking into it. One of my options is to, I know there was a relationship before, so I look forward to having conversations with persons that created that relationship before, that were contracted to do so, and see what went wrong and what went well, and then see if we can curb what went wrong and maybe establish this relationship again. That is the plan.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Bibi, your third round.
Thank you, Relaika. Minister Doran, yesterday, police officers on St. Martin started a go slow. I mean, their legal attorney says it's a strike, but I know it's a go slow. What is government doing to rectify the situation to at least start paying these police officers what is due to them? I know the Minister of Justice have been working on the function book, and the calculations were delayed and whatever delayed the process. But Minister, 13 years later, I think when you were in office, a payment was made to them as a Minister of Justice. Since then, nothing. How do you see this moving forward with government from the point of view of government?
Thank you for your question. Well, one thing I hate to do is comment on things that I don't have the full information for, so I would refrain from doing that in terms of when and what in the specifics. However, as I mentioned before, and as you rightfully mentioned, during my tenure as a Minister of Justice, I've dealt with the situation. I understand the frustration of everyone that is there. And again, it has to do with bad decisions of the past or non-decisions of the past that has led us here. And I know that the minister is pushing forward with her team, but I will forward that question to her cabinet to have that responded to in writing in terms of the exact next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Duran. Bibi, you have.
I'm going to start to beg now. Am I getting 4 or 5?
We'll go ahead and allow 5. We have the time. Go ahead.
All right. Minister, can you give us an update on GEBE and the situation regarding the 5 reports that government has received?
Can you be a bit more specific on your question?
The Supervisory Board of Directors of NVGEBE, after the investigation that was launched, the Prime Minister and government asked for an independent investigation. There were 5 reports submitted to the government, the Council of Ministers. I'm asking you, what's the status now? Has there been a decision taken as to how GEBE will move forward? Minister, 1 year after the hack and people still not getting bills. The bills are still not clear. When are we going to start clear the waters with this? What's the process? What's the progress on this? What's the plan?
You see, the thing is, with these wide questions, so now you're asking me what is GB's plan in terms of having the correct billing done? That is the question, if I understand you correctly.
I'm asking you, what is government's plan in getting this company
Okay.
forward? Of course, we're stagnated. After the hack, I'm telling you that people are still not getting proper bills. We have a situation where you have members of temporary managers or people who were supposed to be candidates for management position on suspension. There's a lot going on at GEBE. After the report, after the investigation done, I'd like to know what the decision government has taken for this company to move forward.
Okay, we received all the reports. We had a very lengthy meeting with the board, with the investigative team, so to speak. And you're asking which decisions have we taken. All of the echo that comes out of our mouths as ministers are get this thing resolved. And they have been given updates as to how the bills are being coming out. And we have seen less and less complaints. I'm sure you are hearing less complaints with that is concerned as well. They are rectifying the bills. Everything is not 100%, but I believe based on the last report we had, I think they had the information, the data, about 80% in order, and they were working on rectifying the others. So that is all I can say based on that point right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Bibi, your final question.
Thank you, Relaika. I think I want to ask the Minister of VSA, Minister Otley. There is a video of you circulating, Minister, a video with you wearing some specific jewelry. Can you give us a reaction on this nice video and the comments that are being made?
Good morning, Bibi. You know, there's so much pressing issues in St. Martin that I wish we can talk about those issues, but nonetheless, you're doing your job in reporting the news, I guess. You know, it's unfortunate that we're in an election year, I guess, and people resort to every type of gimmick that they can. And the issue is that everything that is seen in that video I've owned before. But I'm not here to defend what I've owned and what I've not owned. It goes back to what I've stated in the floor of Parliament. St. Martin and those before us has made the people dependent and feel that in order for me to be one with the people, I need to be suffering. In order for me to be one with the people, I need to relate with poverty. That's not what it's about. It's about uplifting our people, showing our people that you too can be successful. I went through my struggles. I have done what I needed to do. I opened my company. I remember when I was doing construction and people used to laugh at me, telling me I'm in the sun, I'm getting black. Now when there's a tender with Rummy, we can't even fit in the room because there's so much contractors. But that's motivation, that's entrepreneurship. And for those politicians or ex-politicians that couldn't get elected that are sending it and saying, look at the taxpayers' money, I would say this. That's not the taxpayers' money. You know where your taxpayers' money went? Your taxpayers' money is in the big legislation, the minimum wage legislation that we brought, the AOV legislation that we brought to raise the pension, the home repair program, the diabetic foot care, the SOS policy, the job fairs, the Royal Caribbean job fairs that open an opportunity for thousands of people to get jobs, the increase in the food basket from 12 to 72, and much, much more, the senior programs. And not only that, holding down 2 ministries for over 8 months. That's where your tax money went. Where my salary goes is up to me. I produce, I do a job, and I receive a salary. I am also a taxpayer. Tomorrow, if I am no longer gained by the confidence of the people and no longer have the confidence of Parliament, I will be dismissed. And then it will be okay to be myself again. I will not change who I am. Once I continue to work on this level and I continue to work when I go to the 4th floor, I will continue to be who I am. That's the only thing I can do. So thank you, Bibi. And for those persons that are spreading it, thank you for increasing my popularity. But once I continue to work as Minister Otley, what Omar Otley does on his time is Omar Otley's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your response. Bibi, that brings us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Minister of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telemcel TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.